And you're live.
What's going on, everybody? This is Dylan with Dylan Talks Tone. This is our 5 p.m. Thursday live stream hangout that we do every week. For those of you that are new to the channel, we do like a guitar-related video more than once a week right now. We're doing some cool stuff, number one. And number two, we do this live hangout. Let me close this window so that it's a little quieter in here. How about that? We're doing some new things this week. We're experimenting with a new format. It will still be Q&A in order to make sure that you can be featured in a Q&A. You can do two things. One, you can go over to patreon.com/DylanTalksTone and you can become a patron over there. And I check that thing every day and I make sure that questions that come in over there get either answered right then or featured in this live stream. The other thing that you can do is you can see, if you look down there, wherever the little, I think if you go this way, there's a join button down there. We went ahead and started YouTube memberships. And so that also, that'll help you stick out in the chat a little bit because these chats move a little quick. And then of course, super chats along the way as well. And what's really cool and new about this whole situation is that Leslie is actually back there. She is back there behind the scenes running this whole thing. I'm not even doing anything like I normally am. You could say hi, Leslie.
Hey, everybody.
So she even has a microphone, so you can talk to her too. And she is going to be in the chat, managing all of that, taking care of all of that. So the other thing that we're going to do is we're going to share a little bit of guitar-related news that I find either funny or enjoyable or helpful for you or whatever. So sometimes it's going to be ridiculous, sometimes it's going to be helpful, but the bottom line is that's what we're going to do. And our headline story today is the Kolos aluminum and carbon fiber guitar, because I sort of have two of them. And we'll get to that in a little while. And so let's just get right into it. First of all, first story of the day comes to us from actually Eric Clapton and Universal. I don't know, or I'm sorry, Eric Clapton and his guitar. The old slow hand guitar that I guess he used it for slide, a bunch of stuff. I think this is hilarious because, well, it was supposed to sell for like $1.5 million or $2 million at auction, and nobody bid on it. I believe the opening bid was $1 million. I think that's too high, but I think 10 grand is too high for a guitar. So that was pretty funny to me. True story. And if you are a Patreon patron or a YouTube member, you can see this video right now on YouTube or on Patreon. I got to play a 57 Strat yesterday. And while it was very cool, and it's always very cool to play an old instrument that has a story to it. And I'm sure Eric Clapton's guitar obviously has many more stories than normal. But still, it's just an old guitar. And so I think it's funny, kind of, that nobody bid on $1 million guitar. I don't think it's worth that much. Eric Clapton's good and all, but I just don't think it's worth that much. It's just an old guitar. It's kind of funny. Next story this evening. We all know who Behringer is, but we may not know that Music Tribe is actually the company behind Behringer. Okay, we know Behringer for like their microphones and their USB interfaces and stuff like that, but there's also TC Electronics, TC Helicon, Behringer amplifiers. I believe they're based out of Europe. They recently announced that they are no longer going to be sending products to most mom and pop stores in the United States anymore. And there's a lot of people really worked up about this because what they're doing is they're going to use, like, I think they're calling them super partners. So there's going to be like 2 or 3 One of them is going to be Sweetwater. One of them is going to be Amazon. I don't know the particulars on all of them, but all of the press stuff that I've read, there has been a company in Nevada that has been managing all of their sales like as a distributor in the United States for the last 10 years or so, and they yanked all of that and are transitioning to doing it internally and to only a couple of internet retailers in the United States. This is, and a lot of people are really worked up about this. The thing is, though, is that I can understand where they're coming from, because 2020, COVID stuff, sales are down for a lot of people, shipping is up, things are more expensive than they were a couple of years ago. And so to be able to maintain margins, they're basically streamlining. And you could say, well, that's going to hurt a bunch of small businesses. The thing is there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 companies under the Music Tribe name, and they all have employees and they all have families. And in order for all of those people to be fed, I can understand the streamlining. Yeah, it's going to hurt some people, but that's 2020. That's the world we live in, and it probably had to happen. It's really interesting, though, because it's going to make it harder for us to be able to get their stuff. TC Electronic pedals are really cool. Behringer amps are very cool for a entry-level tube amp. Their Behringer V22 is a really good sounding amp for the amount of money that it costs. Is very good. So I wouldn't like boycott anything or anything, but just know that it might be a little bit more difficult. You're going to have to go to Sweetwater, or you're going to have to go to Amazon to get those products from now on. Let's see. Last in our news section this evening is that Bob Dylan. By the way, my middle name is Bob. I don't know if you knew that or not. Just going to throw that out there. I asked my parents if I was named after him, and they said no. But I was dating this girl once, and they told her that I was named after Bob Dylan. So I don't really know what to believe. I'm going to go with yes, I was named after Bob Dylan. I think it's cool. That's what I'm going for. So, Bob Dylan sold his entire music catalog to, I believe, Universal. And apparently it's possibly one of the biggest, I heard rumors of over $500 million publishing deals on one single artist at one time. I've been seeing a bunch of posts on social media and on Twitter about, oh, this is the state of the music industry, and oh, I can't believe this, and he's selling out, blah, 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 blah. Again, I try to look at this from the human perspective. And Leslie and I were talking about this a little bit last night, or the night before last. He's an old man. And if he's got to pay his light bill or buy his kid a house, or whatever, what is he going to do? Go up in the attic and like rip off some lyrics and bring it to the bank and say, hey, here's half a song, can I buy a house? No. He probably has gotten to some point in his life where he's like, you know what? Liquidity is good. I'd like to have some cash in the bank and not have to wait on an ASCAP or a BMI check. And boom, he's got cash. Now he can do whatever he wants. He can go off and retire. He can do whatever he wants. He already wrote the songs. He already sang the songs. He doesn't need them anymore. Cash. It's cash. And here's the other thing too. All these old rock stars, okay, have been living on royalty checks for the entirety of their careers. Everybody's complaining that they're going down. Nobody cares about Bob Dylan anymore because he's old. Nobody cares about a lot of these older artists anymore because new stuff is coming up in their place. So are his spins down enough to the point where he's like, you know what? Before the bottom falls out of this and nobody cares about me anymore, I'm going to sell out, have some cash, put it in the bank, and I can buy my kid a house. Makes total sense to me. It's his music. He could do whatever he wants with it. And there's an, I think, Leslie actually pointed this out to me. There is an underlying benefit to this. If you are a Bob Dylan fan, we haven't heard anything new from Bob Dylan. Maybe we have, I guess, in the last few years. But we're going to hear more. Because I would imagine that they're going to want to make money with that music, which means it's going to be in more car commercials. It's going to be in more ads. It's going to be unreleased music that's never come out before. There's going to be all kind of ways, and there's going to be stuff we haven't heard before. It happened with Prince. It happened with Michael Jackson. It happened with a bunch of these people that did this, where they sold their catalog to somebody else, and then all of a sudden there's a bunch of new music.
And not just new music, though. I think it'll bring back some of the classic music, too, that younger generations aren't familiar with.
No, that's true, too. It might actually rejuvenate the Bob Dylan brand in a new way that we actually haven't seen before. You're right. No, that's totally right. And he don't care because he don't need the money because he just got it all. I think it's brilliant at his age. Now, if he was 20 years old, it'd be different, but he's not. So, you know, I don't know. I think it's kind of a brilliant move. Very, very cool. How we doing for questions or super chats or any of that kind of stuff over there?
It's kind of quiet right now. They're laughing about your name being Dylan Bob.
Hey, man, I'll take it. I don't care. I think it's awesome. You know, when I was a kid, I actually hated my name. Okay, I've never actually said this on the internet before, and I'm not embarrassed about it anymore. I used to be when I was a kid. And I'm also drinking a Balvenie 12 year right now, so maybe that helps. I wanted my name to be Mike so bad when I was a kid because Knight Rider. I wanted to be David Hasselhoff when I was a kid. Who didn't in the early 80s?
I didn't.
Well, you weren't alive, or where you were. Well, we won't get into that. We won't get into that. But yeah, I mean, you know, so I hated my name. But then when I got older and I was like, wait a minute, Bob Dylan, that's actually pretty cool. I own it now. I definitely own it now. Let's handle, we're a little bit light on questions this week, but we're going to have a bunch when we get into our headline story here in just a few minutes. So I know that that's what's going to happen. So get your fingers ready for that. Sean, on Patreon. I always make sure that I get all the ones on Patreon. So Sean on Patreon asked, I have a maple Telecaster style neck. The truss rod is only adjustable at the base of the neck. What is the procedure for readjusting this neck? Typically, on a real one, if you take the pick guard off, there will be a little bit of a route in the body that will allow you to put an Allen wrench in there, or at least get in on an angle with a screwdriver, because some of those are actually like a flat screwdriver. And just make sure it fits good, because you don't want to strip it. But typically there's like a little notch out of the body. If that's not the case, then it ends up being a bit of a pain. So what I personally do is I then back the screws out of the neck, because you have 4 screws holding your neck on. I back those out about halfway, and I just slide the neck up. So just a little bit to where you can get, you know, your screwdriver in there. You'll have to loosen the strings. It's kind of a pain. So hopefully your guitar has that little dent in there, and you just take the pick guard off, kind of slide it out from underneath the strings, and then you can access it with a screwdriver. So you don't have to loosen your neck, because that does, it's kind of a pain when you do that. Let's see here real quick. I'm checking some other questions here. Make sure we didn't get any come in. It does not look like it. We actually just had the one. So that's pretty awesome. So the reason I'm sure you're all here is because of the thumbnail. Some of you may be friends of Dan over at Guns and Guitars, so you may have already seen his kit, his Kolos guitar kit. I have one too, kind of. But what I also have is a complete guitar. So what I'm going to do now is I'm actually going to grab the camera and we're going to move over. We don't usually change locations during these streams. And we're actually going to move over to where this thing is. And if you'll just give me a minute.
We could have been more prepared. I could have had like a screen that says stay tuned, and we could have like
Oh, I didn't think about it like that.
not moved the camera.
But this works pretty good, actually.
It does.
Yeah. That'll be framed up very well. Okay. So, and obviously I'm 100% relying on Leslie to handle everything now because I can't see the computer or anything. One more sip of this.
Probably should move your light.
All right. Hang on. We'll just move this light.
Is it plugged into something? Oh.
It is plugged into something. And we'll do it like this.
Yep, and then pull the shade because now you have a reflection.
Okay. Thank you. And then we'll pull this shade, and then we'll have a shadow. Actually, we'll pull this shade, and we won't have a shadow. Okay. So let's discuss Kolos guitars. Kolos is a company, I believe, from China. Well, I'm pretty sure because that's where the boxes came from. And if you look on kolosguitars.com, you can buy some pretty interesting stuff. And as you will see, they have a very interesting construction. Aluminum bodies, and some of them have what do you call it? Roasted maple necks. The one that I have is actually this one right here. They sent me two. They sent me a kit and they sent me a complete guitar. Actually,
Dan's watching.
Oh, good. So since Dan is watching, Dan, I know, had an issue with missing a couple of screws. And so I was like, all right, well, I'm going to get my kit today, and I'm going to like make sure that everything is there. And then you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to do like a live assembly of the guitar. We're going to do like a live stream. If it takes 2 hours, we're just going to live stream the whole thing, and I'm going to assemble this guitar, and it's going to be awesome, and it's going to be cooler than Dan's video. Not really. I love Dan. We were just chatting just before the live stream, and I was telling him that he was missing a couple of screws. Not Dan. Dan was not missing a couple of screws.
Good clarification.
His kit was missing a couple of screws. Mine was missing a neck. This thing was shrink wrapped completely. First of all, I ordered the Smurf blue one. Second of all, mine didn't come with a neck. So here's what we have. If you watched Dan's video over at Guns and Guitars, and if you're not subscribed to Dan, make sure that you do because his stuff is pretty fun. They sent me this. So this is a black aluminum body, and I don't know how close I can get before it's out of focus.
You can get that close. Okay,
cool. So it's a black aluminum body, and it's got some hardware, and what it is it's two pieces sandwiched, and then it's got a couple of pieces of hardware that are glued or that are bolted in already. I thought it was CNC'd, but it looks, honestly, it looks cast to me. But it's very cool. It has a battery compartment. Now, I was looking at the electronics. These are, for all intents and purposes, regular passive pickups. Why does it have a 9-volt battery, do you ask? Because I believe, and Dan, if you want to get in the comments and holler about this too, I really think that these electronics allow you to have a boost switch. So all of the electronics come pre-soldered. So you literally just drop everything in, and I think the battery just gives you a boost switch. of some sort, is what it looks like to me. But I haven't totally dove into this yet, but I feel like that's what it is. And that's why you have a 9-volt. I kind of just laughed to myself and gave up on this guitar once I realized that there was no neck. And I immediately texted Dan and I was like, haha, look at this. It's hilarious. They give you a tool for adjusting the truss rod in your eventual neck that you may or may not receive. They give you the bridge, which it looks very similar to like a Wilkinson twin post sort of deal. Nice matte black. It's almost like a rhino lining of some sort. Everything looks powder coated in my opinion. I don't think it's painted. I feel like it's powder coated. Just some basic die cast Kolos branded tuners with a 10 millimeter hole. I would assume that the neck that I may get at some point has that. They give you Kolos branded strings. I can tell you from playing the other guitar that they're terrible. So just swap them out for whatever. And then they put this in the little spot here upside down and painted the wrong way up. But basically this is your access panel that goes on the back of your aluminum guitar.
Dan says the switch is for coil splits. There's no active electronics.
So why is there a battery hole? That's weird. They must have an active option. So you can buy guitars that are quite expensive from Kolos. It's possible that one of the other
He said the battery box is for the active models. They didn't make a different body for the passive version.
Well, that's very cost conscious, I guess is the nicest way to say it. And
as is not sending a neck.
As is not sending a neck, exactly. Dan said last night too, and I agree with him after playing a complete guitar, which we'll get to in a minute, that having the output jack right here is the dumbest thing ever. We'll get to that in a minute. Oh, the other thing I wanted to see, and I'll show you why I'm checking this in a minute. Okay. So the neck plate fits. We'll talk about the relevance of that in a moment. All right, so there is the kit-ish that I have. It's interesting. It's really interesting. Dan mentioned it last night in his live that it's less of a kit and more of a kit. Like there's a difference between buying a Strat or Tele kit from Fretwire, for example, and assembling it and doing all the soldering and doing all the work, as opposed to this thing where it's almost like I think Michael yesterday when we were shooting that video, he's like, it's sort of like an erector set. And I was like, that is exactly what it's like.
Yeah, so less do it yourself and more like build it yourself.
Yeah. Now, I will say that if they ever get their crap together and send all the parts for the price.
And this packaging presentation is really nice.
Absolutely. And for the price of it, which go to the website because they seem to change that every other day as well. So you have to check that because it was a certain price when I was told I was getting a guitar. Full disclosure, they sent me this stuff for free. I did not pay for it. My eventual goal with it all is, especially for this one, is I would like to, like I said, do a live stream assembly of this thing once we get all of the parts, and then probably just give it away on the channel. I think that would be super fun, and maybe try some different pickups in it, obviously, because I'm not going to give you a guitar with subpar pickups in it. So that is the eventual goal for this guitar, but we need the whole thing. So I sent them a message on Facebook That's how I've been communicating with them. Obviously, they're in a different time zone, so we'll have to just wait on that and see how that goes. I would definitely, what he told me is that in the last 3 or 4 weeks or so since the kit went live, they sold like 2,500 of them, or like 2,499 and a half of them. So I'm not telling you to wait. I would never tell you to not buy something. I would never say anything. I don't want to say anything like really. Somebody asked me, are you going to be honest about this? Because it seems like everybody gets free stuff and then just says nothing but nice stuff about the company. I would hold off a minute until the madness is over and see if, I feel like every company has some things go wrong. I've had it happen to me when we have a really big rush of stuff. So I'm not telling you to never get one, but I feel like this week might not be the time. If you have ordered one and you get 2 necks, please let me know. I'd like one.
Yeah, so a lot of people are concerned after, I guess, what happened to Dan and what happened to you, like how firm is the company and, you know, how reliable that is. So I think moving into the completed guitar that you got would be.
Yes, I will. And I'm going to actually share the link to this video with Kolos. They probably won't like it very much, but like I said, I'm not going to tell you. First, okay, so let's just show you. First of all, this thing came in a box, perfectly packaged, really, really nice. I was going to do an unboxing about it, but after I heard that Dan was missing hardware, I didn't want to I wanted to check it first. And I wanted to check the setup on it and stuff. So it comes in this gig bag. It's got this little spacer in it. I believe this guitar is $5.99 or $6.99 or somewhere in there like that. So it's got this little spacer in it. It's got a little dude that keeps the neck down in the deal. And this thing's actually beautiful. I am actually really, really fascinated with this guitar. I love the Stormtrooper white, matte white with like a little bit of a pearl in it, sort of like what Dan was saying. They look like EMGs, but they're not. They are passive. This bridge is very, very fascinating to me. A little
higher.
A little higher? Mm-hmm. Okay. This bridge is very, very fascinating to me because the way it works is the strings sit in here and then hook in. So everything is done from the top. Nothing goes through the back. It's like a milled piece of stainless, the base plate, with these aluminum saddles, and then these are fine tuners that move in and out. You can see there's threads here. Very, very interesting setup. Super interesting setup. It works really well, actually. The tremolo works really well. I did not take the back off. I was going to actually take the back off so I could show you, but I forgot. The springs come with like rubber sleeves on them to dampen them. The reason I checked the neck plate is, see how this neck plate doesn't fit? And I feel like it's because there's too much powder coating or something. I was going to take it off, but I wanted to show you first so you understood the first, kind of the first impression, you know what I mean? I think if you just take a razor blade and cut some of this powder coating out of here, then that will, but they just jammed it together and now it's bent, right? So now I'll have to take it out, straighten it, get rid of the powder coating right there, and get that to work in there.
So Dan popped in with a super chat. Thank you.
Thanks, Dan.
He said, agree. These will be awesome kits when they work out the kinks, but hold off for now.
Yeah, I feel like that's the thing. A couple other things I want to show you quality-wise. They've got brass, and I don't know if you can see these or not, but they've got brass markers, and they're very, very cool. But they're not all perfectly aligned in there, and then some of them have like a little bit of the flashing of the quote-unquote carbon fiber that that you use to build the guitar. The neck is there. I don't know if it's a little bit of the epoxy or something. So what I was going to do was just take a razor blade and just clean that up so it looks nice. Again, I just wanted to show it to you exactly as I got it without cleaning up any problems, so that it was 100% honest on that. See what I'm saying? This is in a really weird spot. It does hit you. Now what I will say is when it's hanging on the strap, it hangs and feels perfect. Like it balances right and it feels nice. The neck, Dan was asking about, or he mentioned something last night about a crack, and I actually have, when I saw his video, I actually have exactly the same line in the neck, I think. And then there's another one right here. I feel like somebody said that this was like a carbon fiber monofilament 3D printed thing. And if that's the case, that sort of makes sense as to why the little bit of irregularities in it. This one has locking tuners with like a perloid or ish looking tuning key. This is actually a very nice looking guitar. I think it's really nice. Dan actually sent me a Facebook message earlier asking me about the nut. I feel like the nut's okay. I think I might check it and do a little fine tuning on it, but it isn't terrible. The intonation, I'm not sure. It feels,
you're pretty good.
Yeah, my butt dyno's pretty good on this thing. I would say it's about 6.5 pounds, something like that. 6 pounds maybe. It's a little heavier than my McPherson, so I would say it's 6 or 6.5 pounds. In that neighborhood. As far as the sound, I cannot play it for you right now because the next tone stage is in the box going back. We're going to talk about that in a completely different video, and I'm going to leave you cliffhanging on that. I could be persuaded to talk about it now, but that's a whole nother thing. If you want to watch the next tone review, I did shoot a good video with it yesterday. It will be out next Tuesday. Patreon patrons and YouTube members can watch it now. I posted it for them this afternoon. It's like 23 minutes long, really super in-depth. Let's just say it's a monster. Super good. It's awesome. But I'm not keeping it. So there you go, man. There is your aluminum Chinese carbon fiber-ish neck, 24 fret. It plays pretty decent. Once I did a little bit of, I did tweak the setup on it just a little bit. I gave the truss rod a little bit of a tweak. Oh, speaking of truss rods, I wonder if Dan's still watching. Dan's like, so are you just gonna call me out then, or not? So let's talk about. Let's talk about quality. All carbon fiber is not created equal. Okay. And I wasn't anticipating doing this, so I'm going to do what I always say I shouldn't do. I'm going to leave the camera shot so I can come get all the way in the bedroom another guitar, because we're going to talk about carbon fiber, and then we're going to talk about carbon fiber. So I'm going to show you what real carbon fiber looks like. This, my friends, is carbon fiber. This is a McPherson Sable. If you follow my channel at all, you'll know about this. I've been posting a ton about it. We've got a bunch of videos coming out about it. But here's what I want you to look at. Look at the back of this neck, okay? I don't know if you can just see what you can see there. It's obviously in this lighting. I didn't plan on this, but in our video, we're going to get real technical with shooting it real properly. Okay, you look at that neck, and then now look at this one. And you see how kind of haphazard the fibers are in comparison to how clean this is. So there is a difference. And the reason I bring it up is the Kolos is going to be probably very stable, but you will still have to adjust the truss rod. I actually had to adjust the truss rod on it just to play it. It was too flat when I got it. I loosened it about a quarter or maybe a little bit more of a turn, and the Kolos, then I was able to play it. The McPherson has no truss rod. It just has a carbon fiber beam that goes the entirety of the neck. And then there's like another piece of carbon fiber, and then the fretboard is carbon fiber, and then the neck is carbon fiber, and it's like, you can see the quality when you just look at them next to each other. But the price differential also reflects that. So this is like rock solid stable. That one is gonna be much, I would imagine, much more stable than a regular guitar, but it's not gonna be 100% stable like you would expect carbon fiber to be. I think you're still, not because of weather so much on this guitar, but because of string tension. So if you go from 9s to 10s or 9s to 11s, or you do some alternate tunings or stuff like that, chances are you will have to do some adjustment on this neck, because I don't want to say it's not real carbon fiber, but there is a difference between a $699 carbon fiber guitar neck and this. But again, the price differential reflects that as well. So, you know, there is that. So that's it. I just wanted to share this with you. It's crazy. This is crazy. It's a crazy deal. But that's it. And please do me a favor. Get in the comments and let me know what you think about our new show format. Let me know what you think about having Leslie behind the microphone over there helping me out with what's going on in the chat, because that's super fun. I actually like it. I really enjoy having her here as part of it. We used to actually do a side-by-side podcast, Dylan Talks Tone podcast, for a long time. And so bringing her back and having her be more of a part of it is a lot more fun for me. So, and yeah. Is that it?
Yeah, not a lot of questions. We're currently laughing about autocorrect trust road when everybody's trying to talk about the truss rod.
Oh, trust road. Yes. Well, I guess that's it. Make sure you check out the join button down there. I think it's that side. Make sure you check out Patreon, because that video is worth it. Okay, so I'm going to address this. We came out with the join thing, and we got a lot of comments. I got quite a few, actually, from people who followed the channel for quite a while. And they were like, it feels like you're asking for money. No, what I'm doing is I really appreciate your support, is really what it means. And just to let you know, for example, I was able to bring a musician in for this demo yesterday. And that's not free. Because it could have been, I guess. But I wanted to also compensate for him for his time. This guy gigs 5 nights a week. He hasn't played a gig since March. So I was like, what can I do to help support him? So it was like, well, I'm going to take some of that Patreon money that I got and a couple of dollars from we don't have very much yet, but from the membership thing. And I'm going to give him a few bucks so that he can help me for a couple hours and shoot a better video. Immediately, it's like going into force and it's making better content. So you win. You know what I mean? And so I really, really appreciate that because it allows us to be able to do that kind of stuff. And it's really fun to bring people in on this stuff. And it's something that I have wanted to do for a long time, haven't been able to do as much. And so, plus it felt really good to me to be able to help somebody else out who I know is a really good guy, and he can't play gigs, man. He hasn't played a gig since March. So that was really cool. You're going to dig it. I got to play his guitar. I'm not going to say a whole lot more about it than that. You need to go check the video out because I got to play a cool guitar yesterday. It was awesome.
Dan dropped another super chat.
Yeah.
He said, my kit is together and I'm going to do a sound demo and final thoughts live tonight in a little over an hour if anyone wants to see it.
Thanks for hijacking my feed.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that is awesome. Make sure that you go check his video out because I love Dan's content because he has done in the past a lot of kits. He has a lot of experience. I've never actually built one.